Today, we're talking about one of the most game-changing laws in modern India. It's a tool that completely rewired the connection between the people and the government. I'm talking about the Right to Information Act. Seriously, just think about that for a second. What if you, just you, had the legal power to demand answers directly from the government? Well, in India, that's not some hypothetical. It's the real deal. So what is it exactly? At its heart, the right to information, or RTI, is incredibly simple. It means any citizen can ask for information from any government body. We're talking from your local village office all the way up to the Prime Minister's office. And they are legally required to give you an answer, usually within 30 days. Now, what's so powerful about this is that the RTI wasn't some gift from the top. It was fought for, on the ground, by ordinary people. And their slogan, Hum janenge, hum jienge, says it all. We will know, we will live. It makes this incredible connection that knowing the truth is essential to living a life with dignity. And that really gets to the core idea here. For so long, information was kept under lock and key, and that's where power came from. The RTI Act was basically designed to take a hammer to that lockbox and put the power back where it belongs, with the citizens. You can think of the whole thing as standing on 4 giant pillars. First, it promotes transparency, forcing the government to work out in the open. And that transparency naturally enforces accountability, because officials know they can be called out. Both of those things lead to better governance, and the end result? It empowers you, the citizen. And listen, this isn't just a nice policy idea. It's a fundamental right. India's Supreme Court has said time and again that the right to know is a core part of the freedom of speech. I mean, think about it. How can you express a meaningful opinion if you're not allowed to get the facts in the first place?
So, where did this all come from? Well, like I said, it wasn't dreamed up in some quiet committee room. It was born from a powerful, grassroots people's movement.
The journey was a long one. It all kicked off in the 90s with a group of workers and farmers in Rajasthan called the MKSS. Their pressure eventually led to a national law in 2002, but it was weak and honestly it went nowhere. But they didn't stop pushing. And finally, on October 12, 2005, the powerful RTI Act we have today was officially law. And this is what I find so amazing. Look at what they were asking for. They weren't after classified state secrets. They were farmers and laborers who just wanted to see the village accounts, the payrolls for local projects, the spending records. They just wanted to know where their own money was going.
Okay, so that's the why, but what about the how? How does a regular person actually use this incredible tool? Let's get into it. First off, the law is super strict about deadlines. A government department has 30 days to get back to you on a standard request. But get this, if your question is about someone's life or liberty, they have to respond within just 48 hours. The system is designed for urgency. So what if they blow you off or give you a useless answer? Well, there's a clear process. First, you appeal to a more senior officer within that same department. If you're still getting the runaround, you take it to the next level, the Independent Information Commission. These guys are the final authority and can legally force the department to release the information. And here's the best part. This law has real teeth. It's not just a suggestion. An officer who intentionally delays or denies information can be personally fined 250 rupees for every single day of delay. And that fine comes out of their own pocket, not the government's. Now that gets people's attention. So what has all this actually accomplished? Well, RTI has been like a wrecking ball, blowing the lid off some of the biggest corruption scandals in India's recent history. It shows how one simple question can start an avalanche. Remember the 2G spectrum scam? This was a huge deal where cell phone network licenses were sold for pennies on the dollar, costing the country billions. It was RTI applications demanding to see the files on how these decisions were made that helped crack the whole thing wide open. Or how about the Adarsh housing scam? This one was just shocking. A single RTI query revealed that an apartment building meant for war widows had been illegally snatched up by politicians and top officials. Information gave a voice to the people who'd been betrayed. And of course, the 2010 Commonwealth Games. RTI requests from activists and journalists uncovered a flood of corruption. Everything from massively overpriced contracts to fake billing. It was those official documents, forced into the light by RTI, that exposed the whole mess. But look, as massive as those scandals are, the real magic of RTI happens every single day. It's about ordinary people using it to get their pensions paid on time, to check their ration cards, to find out what happened to a scholarship, or to simply ask why the new road is already full of potholes. This is where the real revolution is. But, and this is a big but, holding power accountable is never easy. And the fight for transparency is a constant battle, one that comes with very real and sometimes very tragic risks. Just let that number sink in for a minute. Over 90. That's the estimated number of RTI activists who have been killed just for asking questions. And that doesn't even count the thousands who are threatened and harassed. That is the human price of demanding the truth. The law also faces challenges from the top. Take the 2019 amendment. On one side, you have critics who argue that it weakens the whole system by giving the government control over the salaries and terms of the information commissioners, who are supposed to be independent referees. On the other side, supporters of the amendment said it was just a necessary change to make things run more smoothly.
And the fight continues on so many other fronts. RTI users are constantly up against officials who drag their feet, political leaders who just don't want transparency, and of course, the constant, very real threat of attacks and intimidation against activists. But here's the bottom line. Even with all these dangers, all these challenges, the Right to Information Act is still the most powerful weapon a regular citizen has to demand accountability in India's democracy. Period. And that leaves us with one final, really important question. The RTI Act was built to be a protector, a shield for the citizen. But as it faces all these new challenges, we have to ask ourselves, who will protect the protector?